So we talked about the game Patchwork. Patchwork is going to be on the iOS. It's actually now out on the iOS, Android, and Windows 10. It's a game that it looks kind of, I don't know, maybe cutesy, a little bit girly because it's like quilt patterns and whatnot. But apparently there's some serious strategy to this game. It's a turn-based strategy game in which you're trying to gain points by putting down pieces in a certain way that you win, and there's a scoreboard on the side. You can play against the AI. You can also play against online opponents across platforms. Doesn't matter what platform you have.
Interesting.
Or the other one is, and this makes me smile a little, is that you could do hot seat gaming, where you basically just play hot potato. You play, and then you get handed to me, and then I hand it back to you.
I think I'm excited because it's still on the Sega Saturn.
No, I don't have a Sega. I don't have any Sega things.
Hot seat gaming for Charlie. That may actually get you to buy into it a little bit more than maybe previously you were.
I'm just saying, I'm a huge hot seat gamer. Well, I mean, the thing is, hot seat where, if it makes sense, for someone to be able to play a game on the same screen, be it split screen or what Cyberdogs did, and that was you're on one screen, and then if you went in opposite directions, then it's split.
Cyberdogs is a classic throwback to the good old shoot 'em up games.
And freeware.
With beautiful cooperative play. Hot seat co-op. We played many hours. Actually, you play on the same keyboard. Like, you'd use the ASW, and I'd use like 1, 2, 3 over here. That was epic.
It was very epic.
So remind the audience, because I forget, because, well, I drink too much coffee. So Patchwork is already out. Is it in...
Patchwork just came out. I don't remember the price off the top of my head, so I actually, you know what, I can cheat here. Let's see if I gave a price here. I don't think I did. No, I did not put a price on there. But it's available now. It's going to be cross-platform, and it's actually based on... let me see if I can find the name here. Rosenberg's award-winning board games. This is actually based on a board game that then went to digital.
I'm going to be honest. So last week when you talked about it, I'm like, wow, I'm totally not interested in the game. But with your further description of the different elements and what it's based on a board game, it actually piques my interest a lot more than it had.
Well, the thing is, I think we didn't really have I don't think I dove enough into the information because I didn't really know a lot. And the fact is, the trailer that was given last week was really weak. It really didn't describe anything about
I think that's why I wasn't interested, because based off the trailer, it looked like just another generic puzzle game.
Right.
And that's why I was kind of like, where now it looks like it's a little more meat to it, a little bit more interesting gameplay opportunities. And I like that it's cross-platform. I think makes it interesting, too, because you also open yourself up to a lot of potentially different players and play styles than you would see otherwise.
Absolutely. And the thing is that when you play against the AI, because it's one of the options, you got an easy, a normal, and a hard AI. So you've got different levels. Hopefully, those levels actually make a difference, unlike certain games that I've been playing recently where if I'm playing on easy, God forbid I see what the hell normal looks like.
Thank you, comics. I try.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyways.
But that's also something I like. And okay, so we've talked in the past a lot about online multiplayer games.
Right.
And I think that's a good point, though, is that Patchwork has a mode where you can play against the enemy. Or play against the AI.
Right.
And I think, we talk a lot about games that we don't necessarily, multiplayer games that we're not really big into.
Right.
I think that's a lot of those games, especially like the FPS ones. I think if they had more of an actual versus AI component that's just not necessarily the campaign, but the actual game, I might be more interested in it. Take, for instance, Smite or League of Legends. The reasons I still play them occasionally is because you can play against the AI.
Right. Absolutely. It's that ability to kind of gain some confidence in what the hell you're doing instead of being thrown into the deep end and then getting your ass whooped or having someone scream noob at you the entire time and you're just like, screw it, I'm not playing this game.
Exactly, and that's what really turns me off. And I remember this guy, so we were I'm sure we'll get to it a little bit later, but we were at Canoga this week, and a few people, we chatted about League of Legends, mostly is what people played. And my first one was like, yeah, I would love to play War, but the community sucks. And they're all like, yeah, I know.
Right. I mean, it's basically like, I think it's like any online environment. If you can find your group, you're fine. But if you're kind of trying to like solo lone wolf it, or just randomly selecting teams, that's when you really get to see the toxicity of some of
I
these.
think a game like Team Fortress 2,
Mhm.
one of the reasons I've really gotten to TF2
Mhm.
is because the servers were all moderated by moderators. And so what I'm talking about, so you'd hop onto they weren't owned by Valve.
Right.
So you'd hop onto a server, and if you're being an asshat and calling people, asshat things,
Mhm.
there would be a big mod there, boom, you're banned, you're kicked off.
Right.
And I think that, if you saw a really popular server, chances are you had mods there
Mhm.
that were laying the ban hammer down on people who were being jackwagons.
Mhm.
Versus a game like LoL or any number, not just LoL, but obviously any game where the servers are hosted by the developer,
Mhm.
then chances are you don't have that same level of moderation to eliminate that toxicity.
Right. Well, I mean, the way that Smite gets around it is you just report the player, but the question is then how much does it take to truly report a player? I know that was it League of Legends that threw the ban hammer down on some of the more toxic players?
Mm-hmm. Well, remember they also tried doing the whole experiment where they, they'd send you to timeout, and you have to go do the passive aggressive test and all kinds of other weird stuff. So they've done that a little bit over the years.
Right.
Where they've tried to do it in different things.
Right. I mean the way that Smite does is that once you've got reported, you don't get as much. You don't gain the full amount of experience and followers and gold that you would if you weren't being a jackass.
But the other problem you could potentially run too, and
you could have people team up against you and blackball you. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it cuts a little both ways, and there's no perfect solution for it.
True, but the fact of the matter is the vast majority of the individuals out there are going to band together, and that's one of the cool things about Smite is when I do play games where someone AFKs or drops because they're having a hissy fit. At the end of the game, you can talk to both sides, and if something crazy like that happens, usually people stick around long enough in that chat window to hear what the hell happened on your side. And if they say, hey, this guy really dicked us over, then not only will the team that got dicked over, but the other team will also report them. And when you get that kind of crazy support, I think that you can it goes over so much better.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of weird because probably the least toxic, ironically, like PvP environment I ever played in was World of Warcraft. Like in terms of people being jackwagons the entire time.
Don't you have to group to go into PvP, or can you random?
No, you can do it individually or by group, which created its own host of problems because I'm sure they've probably changed it since then. But what happened, especially way back in the day, is what happened a lot of times. You'd have pre-mates.
Yeah.
And then you'd have pugs, pickup groups. And a lot of times what happened is you join as a pug, one person of, say, 12v12, and you face a pre-mate. And then as a pug, you would get face rolled by the pre-mate naturally.
Of course.
And that was a really big issue in the PvP world was you could go rounds with facing these pre-mates and it just wouldn't be any fun because there's absolutely, if you get beat in 6 minutes, 32-0, it's like, okay, that sucks.
Yeah. Oh, I know this is totally random, but one of the top League of Legends players in the world is being forced to quit League of Legends because he's been conscripted into the Greek army.
Oh, no, I had a different one.
Oh, well, Forgiven, I believe is his name, and he can't play any longer because he's got to go serve his year or two in the Greek military. Well,
they had the top StarCraft player in the world out of Korea. He's given up StarCraft because Blizzard is really clamping down on the regional locks. They've been slowly over the years because of imbalance with competition or whatever. I'm not enough in this scene to understand. But basically, Blizzard thinks there's an imbalance with the competition based on regioning. And so for a while, like if you're from Korea or wherever, you can play in other regions. But Blizzard's been slowly clamping down on that. And basically, they've recently really clamped down. So like this guy who's from Korea, I think it's StarCraft, so it's Korea.
Right.
But he could no longer partake in the North American tournaments, for instance.
That's weird.
Oh, something along. I'm sure I'm missing a detail, but basically it limited his ability to really compete on the international. I'm sure he could go through like brackets and stuff to play in North America, but to be able to just play in North America when he wanted, he was no longer able to competitively because the way they were clamping down, and it would limit his opportunities to play internationally. Is what would happen.
Interesting. Well, I know that for a lot of the online games out there that they do region lock, which does cause a little bit of a problem when you're looking at something like let's say that for example Brazil can only play against Central American teams, but they're just starting to really blossom into professional teams. But they can't gauge their competition because they're being region locked into the Central America area instead of being able to see, okay, where is Japan at? Where is the U.S. at? Where is Europe at? The only way you could do that is you're watching the Twitch streams. You can't actually directly compete unless it's in a tournament.
And then you see like the Smite World Championship,
yeah,
where you get these teams from other countries, and they've got a little better over these years, but generally speaking, they're getting base rolled by Europe and North America.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the other countries, kind of the same thing. It's like, yes, they're the best team in South America, but compared to the rest of the world, that may not necessarily mean much because they can't. And it's one of those things also, if you can't face the best teams in the world,
right,
it's hard to raise your level of skill because if you're face rolling all your opponents in South America, you're just not going to get better. You have to face better competition to improve your skill level. That's just the reality.
That's very true. And I mean, I understand it to a point, but at the same time, I think that there really needs to be for like when you're on the pro level,
mm-hmm.
there should be like a friendly match section where you can basically do whatever you want to against opponents, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
So anyways, going back, Patchwork, it's now out on the iOS, Android, and Windows 10.
Man, which is becoming, you type worse than I do.
Which is very interesting that we're now seeing that push to really show that, it's no longer. It's no longer iOS, Android, or PC. It's very specific. It's very they're now pointing specifically to Windows 10. I understand different architecture. They've got their own little thing to play games on it, whatever. But I do find it interesting that they're differentiating to that degree now.